Childhood is supposed to be a sanctuary of innocence, a time when the world feels safe, when play is the natural language, and when mistakes carry no heavy consequences. Yet for many children, this stage never truly exists. Instead, they are thrust into roles meant for adults, shouldering burdens that distort their natural growth. A child who grows up too fast often does so quietly. There is no announcement, no recognition. It begins the moment a little boy learns to soothe his mother's tears after another night of violence, or when a girl, barely old enough to write her name, learns how to prepare meals for her siblings because no one else will. These children become emotional guardians, financial helpers, mediators, and caretakers. Their innocence is not lost suddenly. It is drained, piece by piece, until there is none left. From the outside, their behavior is often praised. Teachers describe them as mature beyond their years. Relatives tell stories about how responsible they are. Neighbors might even call them extraordinary. But behind this praise lies a hidden tragedy. Their maturity is not natural, not chosen, and not free. It is survival. The cost is profound. These children learn to silence their needs. They put aside their own fears, curiosities, and desires because the environment around them demands something different: control, stability, responsibility. They grow hyper-aware of every detail: the tone of a parent's voice, the heaviness of footsteps, the subtle changes in atmosphere that could mean danger. Their nervous system adapts to chaos by staying alert at all times, never resting, never relaxing. And this survival strategy reshapes who they are. Instead of carefree, they become cautious. Instead of expressive, they become restrained. Instead of trusting, they become calculating. They are not allowed to experience the natural stages of childhood, and so those stages never fully develop. Carl Jung once remarked that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. These children carry exactly that. They absorb the conflicts, the dysfunctions, the failures, and the emptiness of the adults around them. And while the world may see them as remarkable, inside there is a hollow echo of what was lost. The wound of stolen childhood is not visible in photographs. It does not show up on report cards or family portraits. But it lives in the silence of the child who rarely laughs, in the tension of the one who cannot rest, in the eyes of the young face that looks far older than its years. The world rarely questions children who act like adults. In fact, society often rewards them. A 10-year-old who cooks dinner for siblings is called helpful. A child who listens to their parents' problems is called wise. A teenager who takes on work to support the family is called responsible. These words sound like compliments, but beneath them lies neglect disguised as admiration. Children forced into adult roles experience what psychologists call parentification. They either become emotional caregivers, soothing, supporting, and stabilizing adults, or practical caregivers, taking on household and financial duties. In both cases, their own development is interrupted. Their identity becomes entangled with responsibility.
This creates a paradox. The very qualities that earn them praise are also the source of their deepest wounds. Responsibility, when demanded early, is not character building, it is crushing. Emotional maturity, when forced, is not wisdom, it is armor. The cost reveals itself in subtle, devastating ways. These children often feel guilty for having needs. They hesitate to ask for help, fearing rejection or ridicule. They struggle with playfulness because somewhere along the line they learned that play was frivolous, even dangerous. They often suppress emotions like anger, sadness, or fear because they believe those feelings would only create more chaos in an already unstable environment. Over time, these habits form a permanent pattern. The child learns, I must take care of others. I must not burden anyone. I must always be strong. This pattern becomes so deeply ingrained that even as adults, they continue to live by these unspoken rules. But the cost does not stop at lost innocence. There are physical consequences, too. Children who grow up too fast often develop chronic tension, headaches, stomach issues, and sleep disturbances. Their bodies remain in survival mode long after the danger has passed. Their brains wire themselves around hypervigilance, making relaxation feel foreign, even unsafe. What appears to be resilience is, in truth, a wound that never healed. These children never learned that it is safe to be vulnerable, to depend on others, to be cared for without conditions. And so, they carry a silent grief, the grief of the life they should have lived but never did. When these children grow older, they step into the world of adulthood carrying invisible baggage. They become adults who, on the surface, look capable, hard-working, and reliable. But beneath the appearance of strength lies a fractured identity. Relationships expose the wound most clearly. Adults who grew up too fast often struggle with trust. They crave intimacy but recoil when it arrives. They may give endlessly, pouring themselves into others, yet feel uneasy when care is returned. Receiving love feels dangerous because long ago, love was conditional, given only when they performed, behaved, or carried burdens that were not theirs. This internal conflict shows up in their careers as well. They become perfectionists, terrified of making mistakes because mistakes in childhood often carried heavy consequences. They overwork, unable to rest without guilt. They say yes to demands they secretly resent because refusing feels like betrayal. To others, they look like model employees, but inside, they are exhausted, burned out, and trapped. The wound also appears in their emotional world. Many of these adults live with a persistent sense of emptiness. They may achieve outward success, degrees, promotions, families of their own, but still feel an uncheckable loneliness. They wonder why they are never satisfied, why joy feels fleeting, why rest feels unnatural. The answer lies in their childhood. Joy and rest were luxuries they could never afford. Their inner child is still alive, but hidden. It whispers in the moments of sadness that arrive without reason. It surfaces in the anxiety that lingers even in safety. It appears in the sense of incompleteness that no achievement can erase. This is not immaturity. It is trauma echoing across time. The child within them never stopped waiting for safety, waiting for freedom, waiting to finally be seen. And until that child is acknowledged, the adult will always feel divided, outwardly strong, inwardly fragile. Healing from the wound of growing up too fast is not about returning to childhood. That time is gone, it cannot be reclaimed. Healing is about integration, acknowledging what was lost, grieving what cannot return, and learning to provide for oneself what was once absent. The first step is recognition, to say without denial, I grew up too fast. I carried burdens that were not mine. I missed the chance to be a child. This is not self-pity, it is truth. And truth is the foundation of healing. The second step is allowing vulnerability. For someone who has lived a lifetime in control, vulnerability feels terrifying, but it is essential. It means learning to express needs without shame. It means asking for help without guilt. It means letting others see the parts of you that are not strong, not perfect, not in control. The third step is relearning play and rest. For many, this feels unnatural at first. They may laugh awkwardly, feel guilty when resting, or dismiss fun as wasteful. But these acts are not waste, they are restoration. They are small rebellions against a childhood where joy was forbidden. Boundaries are also crucial. Many adults who grew up too fast continue the cycle by overextending themselves. Healing requires breaking that pattern, saying no, protecting energy, refusing roles that do not belong to them. Boundaries are not selfish, they are survival in its healthiest form. And perhaps the hardest step, self-forgiveness. Forgiving the child who tried and failed. Forgiving the adult who still struggles. Forgiving oneself for not being invincible. This forgiveness is not a single act but a slow process repeated daily until the voice of blame finally grows quiet. Healing does not erase the past, it does not rewrite childhood, but it creates a future where the wound no longer dictates every choice. It allows the adult to live not just as a survivor, but as a whole person, someone who knows both strength and softness, responsibility and freedom. The hidden wounds of a child who grew up too fast do not fade on their own. They wait quietly until they are seen. If you were that child, know this: your pain is valid, your grief is real. And though you cannot return to the years you lost, you can learn to live differently now. The child inside you does not ask for miracles. They ask for recognition, for care, for rest, for joy. They ask to finally be allowed what they never were, the freedom to simply exist without carrying the weight of the world. And perhaps the most profound act of healing is this: to listen to that child, to honor their silence, and to finally give them what they always deserved: safety, tenderness, and peace. Childhood is meant to be a season of innocence, play, and safety, yet for many it is stolen by responsibility too heavy for small shoulders. Some children grow up too fast, forced into roles as caretakers, mediators, or silent witnesses to chaos. On the surface, they are praised as mature, responsible, and wise, but beneath this image lies a deep wound. Their childhood ended before it began. Psychologists call this parentification, where a child takes on adult duties, either emotionally or practically. It teaches them to silence their own needs, to fear vulnerability, and to believe that strength is the only way to survive. Their nervous system adapts to constant vigilance, and play, rest, or joy feel like dangerous luxuries. Society applauds their maturity, but the cost is invisible guilt, chronic tension, suppressed emotions, and a fractured sense of identity. As adults, these children carry their childhood wounds into relationships and careers. They overwork, say yes when they mean no, and give endlessly but struggle to receive care. They fear intimacy, yet long for it. They achieve success, but feel a hollow emptiness inside, haunted by the child who never had the chance to be carefree. Their inner child still waits, longing for safety, recognition, and unconditional love. Healing begins with acknowledgement, admitting the childhood they lost, grieving what cannot return, and learning new ways of being. It requires vulnerability, boundaries, rest, play, and self-forgiveness. Though the past cannot be rewritten, the wound can be integrated, allowing the adult to live not only as a survivor but as a whole person. The story of a child who grew up too fast is not one of weakness but of stolen time and the slow, painful, but possible journey of reclaiming it.